Welcome back to the Innovation Best Practices episodes, every one of which is designed to help you sell more and make more. I only include proven and practical information in these episodes that can help any business with any innovation need. The picture that you see of me there is on my right shoulder, your left, you see a mountain. It's called Granite Mountain, and it's the mountain I see from my home in Prescott, Arizona. A great and beautiful place. Okay, if you want to listen to the Innovation Best Practices episodes, you have two options. You can watch a videocast like the one you are here, and you just need to go to YouTube and search the episode title. You can also listen to this as a podcast by going to i2, that's the letter I, number 2, ge.com/podcast, or go to iTunes and search for Innovation Best Practices. You also can get a free app, good on Apple devices like the iPad and iPhone, and Android devices at Google Play. The podcast is free, the videocast is free, the apps are free. Doesn't get much better. And if you want to contact me, and I love to hear from people, just email me at richard@i2ge.com. I look forward to hearing from you. So let me introduce Kari McNamara. She's been on some earlier podcasts and did an absolutely great job. I had some of my most fun interviews ever. So it's great to have her back in another series that we're beginning here. She has probably led more big and small business innovation and inventing projects than anyone else in America today. And now I know that's a big statement, and I don't say it casually. And although no one's keeping records of it, she's done it for such a long period of time and so successfully that I think it really is true. She's certainly in the top 1% of people out there. And she's led sessions that have produced multiple $100 million year one sales. Yep, year one sales for numerous products. Not a lot of people can say that. Fortunately for me, she's a lead expert for Innovate to Grow Experts, the team at i2ge.com. So, let's get into the case study. I would like to welcome back Kari McNamara. And to me, it's a great treat because the podcasts that we did earlier in the history of this podcast were some of the absolute most fun podcasts I've done so far. And I think they probably, based upon the number of listens that we've gotten according to iTunes, that those of you listening to the podcast also have it ranked among your favorites. So we've brought Kari back, and while you're hearing this well after Halloween, we are actually recording this in the week before Halloween. And why is that important? Because Kari has a spooky story to tell us about a project that involved Halloween. Welcome back, Kari, and tell us your story.
It's my pleasure, and I appreciate you already introducing the puns, saying that it was a treat for me to be back. It was certainly, I'm like, yes, he's on the pun train with me.
I'm now out of puns officially.
That's it. That was your one and only.
That was it. I'm done.
Yeah, it's fun to be recording this on tonight, the night of the full moon. So we have a full moon coinciding with Halloween this week. It's super exciting, and I love Halloween. It's one of my favorite holidays. So I thought this would be a fun story to share because it kind of intertwines the two, the Halloween adventure with the adventure of innovating and creating new ideas around a specific theme, or in this particular case, a holiday.
Great.
So we were working with the R.L. Palmer Candy Company, and I like to think of them as the largest unheard of holiday candy maker around. You've probably eaten some of their candy somewhere along the way because they sell more chocolate Easter bunnies than anyone else in the world. Solid, hollow, decorated, dark chocolate, white chocolate, milk chocolate, any variety, they've got it. And so it's likely that you've ingested one of their savory treats around the Easter time celebrations, but it's likely you've also enjoyed some of their Halloween candy as well, because they make peanut butter cups, chocolate covered caramels, gold foiled coins, chocolate foil covered eyeballs. That's one of their biggest sellers. So it was a lot of fun when they reached out and said, we want to do something to really shake up what's going on around Halloween candy. We get a lot of Easter time. It's real easy to innovate around the Easter time theme. We do the bunnies. We kind of have the lion's share, if you will, of the candy celebration that happens around the Easter time holiday. We really want to get something equivalent going on with regards to Halloween. And then next, their plan was to focus on Christmas. But in this particular case, we dove into Halloween and said, what can we do to really, shake things up when it comes to Halloween candy and help them get more of their fair share around holiday purchases, in particular Halloween candy purchases. And just as a quick side note, you'll have to kind of roll the clock back because at the time that we did this work, Halloween candy, which many of you may or may not remember, was sold individually packaged. So you'd buy a bag of Kit Kats or buy a bag of Mounds or buy a bag of Almond Joys or M&Ms. It wasn't the mixed lot bag that exists today where you could grab a bag of all the candy from Mars and you'd get 5 different candy bars in the big grab bag. You'll learn a little bit later on why that's a really kind of interesting twist, but we're going to dive right into this one. And it was so much fun to go do the background work on this. It wasn't painful at all having to tour a candy factory. We didn't enjoy that at all. We didn't enjoy any free samples of the products coming right off the line. It was just torturous to have to eat, fresh peanut butter cups as they were being made,
Carrie,
or fresh
you're
chocolate-covered caramels.
Carrie, you're not going to get sympathy from me or anyone
It was
else.
horrible.
I know
it
it was. I know it was.
Horrible.
I know.
It was the worst assignment ever. And I was thinking that as I was there walking the factory floor, like, this is just awful. Smelling the chocolate, eating the chocolate. It was horrific. I couldn't believe I was sent on such a wretched assignment.
Yep.
So then anyway, we really then got into, so we said, okay, here's what they can do, here's what they can make, here's what their capabilities are, here's how all of this works, what's possible and what's not possible, what can be molded and what can't be molded, and kind of the art and science, if you will, of making a filled piece of chocolate, which I didn't realize how challenging that was exactly. And we also then deconstructed Halloween, right? We looked at its traditions, its lore, its history, why things are celebrated the way that they're celebrated, the symbolism, anything and everything related to Halloween. We jumped in and we studied it. And we said, well, why do people put out pumpkins? Well, it's because to keep vampires away. Doesn't everybody know that? Well, I didn't know that. I thought garlic was used to keep vampires away. So we, we really got smart when it came to the whole kind of art and science of Halloween. And then we worked to blend those two together, right? To say, how can we bring this fun celebration aspect of Halloween and trick-or-treating and marry that into kind of some of the more, I don't want to say morbid, but a bit more scary, right? And a bit more intense Halloween practices that exist. And that was the magic that we were working to say, how can we make these sparks connect in such a way that we get to some really great new ideas? And we had the client do a lot of the same things. So we shared our favorite trick-or-treat stories. We set up a Halloween party in the middle of June because we needed to get kind of in the Halloween spirit. We hosted different parties and events around the town to just really understand, how do people celebrate Halloween? What do they love about it? Why do they get excited about it? What's the fun of dressing up in costumes and being mysterious? And really understanding all of those different dimensions. And then our clients did the same thing because we were separated geographically. So we said, here's what we're doing. Can you copy that on your end of the equation? They did that as well. When it came time for us to really get together, there were 5 of us on my team and about 8 people on their team. And it was, again, a nice diverse collection of people from R&D, we had a master chocolatier, and then some of the folks from their marketing team all coming together to say, okay, how can we really expand this out and create some wins in the world of Halloween? We wanted to have some extra fun with this project because how can you not? I mean, it's Halloween. So we got there a day ahead. We set up the room so that it was like a haunted house on the inside. We filled it with all kinds of fun decorations, all the cheesy ones that you find at, like the Cracker Barrel when you're driving down the roadside, the pop-up coffins and the pumpkins that sing silly little songs. We also had the smoking cauldrons and all of those types of things as well. So really just going over the top. But I want to just quickly interject a little side note here because we have a lot of research that shows the environment itself is not critically important when it comes to creating fantastic ideas. However, whenever we're doing some themed work or something that's very specific, celebrating a wedding, going through the grieving process when it comes to a funeral, specific holidays like Easter or Rosh Hashanah or whatever holiday it is you might be celebrating, it does benefit you to go through the motions and to recreate at least some of the events prior to creating the ideas, because being in that mindset matters. And it also applies when you're dealing with things like cold medication, for example. It's real easy to invent cold medication products when you're sitting in a room and feeling good and healthy. But man, when you're sick, you go into the store, you go into the aisle, and you grab like the bazooka of all cold products, right? You're like, give me the NyQuil because it takes care of everything and it knocks me out flat. And so being in that mindset, or at least understanding the mindset of how a person acts and behaves when they're sick versus when they're healthy, or when they're celebrating versus when they're not celebrating, or grieving versus not grieving, is critically important. So while the room itself isn't important, understanding the mindset and the mentality is important. So you don't have to go all out. You don't have to blow up your budget and recreate a haunted house or whatever the case may be. But getting into that mindset and really understanding what people are thinking will definitely help you create your ideas. So we came together. We're in our haunted house. We've got all kinds of candy all over the place. We're tossing around some great ideas, and we have some really good ones. We're having a lot of fun. We're laughing. We did a really strong exercise right before lunchtime where everybody's feeling good, the team's all pumped up. But lunchtime rolls around and we needed to have some actual clear space so we could eat something besides sugar. You know, we're all kind of jittery and hyped up on sugar from all the sugar we've had since 8 o'clock that morning. So we're clearing off the space and we're grabbing whatever containers are around that we could use as, storage containers. I grabbed a little mummy coffin. Somebody else grabbed a bucket. There were a couple of other body bag type of things there, and we're just tossing things in. All the candy's going in. And I made a wisecrack that said, hey, here's an idea. Why don't we make a chocolate skeleton and sell it in a coffin, kind of like a bunny that's sold in a decorative Easter box. And then we kind of rolled with that from there. And all of a sudden, there's all these different ideas. What about this, gruesome, kind of gory foil wrapped body that's inside of an actual coffin? And we could animate the coffin, and it just mummies and all kinds of fun things, but inside of these containers. So you buy the container, but you don't really know what's inside. And that was, I think, the kind of spark of inspiration that we hit upon. And about 5 minutes later, after I made some, off the cuff joke as we're cleaning up at lunchtime, so I would love to say, hey, here's this amazing exercise that led to this remarkable outcome. But I think honestly, with this case, it was just a massive amount of sugar and an off the cuff remark that led to a stroke of genius. We were capturing basically our favorite idea, which was this jumbo bag filled with hundreds of various gummy body parts. So gummy eyeballs, gummy ears with worms crawling out of them, gummy severed fingers, legs, gummy lungs. I mean, you get the idea. Take all these different body parts, make them in gummy form. And then we even took this one step further to say, well, what if we sold it in this jumbo-sized bag, and the bag was black, so you couldn't actually see the body parts inside, and we just sold it as a body bag. So like the coroner's body bag, where you'd roll it out, you see the coroners coming out from a murder scene or whatever the case may be, and you don't know what's inside of it, but you know that there's gummy body parts in there. It was a bit crazy, a little bold. At the time, people weren't doing these types of things. Halloween was all about ghosts and pumpkins, and there wasn't a lot of the frightening stuff unless you went to a specialty store. So we weren't really sure that people would go for this, but it turned out to be a huge hit. It sold out everywhere. I think it was on shelf for like 10 days or less in most stores, if I remember correctly. And then people were excited and looking for it the following Halloween. So they were actually getting calls from retailers looking for, when are the body bags going to arrive? Because we have customers coming in and asking for them, which was really exciting. So not only was that product exciting and a huge success for the Palmer Candy Company, but it also kicked off that larger trend that I mentioned at the beginning, which we all now collectively benefit from, which is you buy one bag, you dump it into your bowl, you've got all your candy that you need for the whole trick-or-treating season. So it was a really interesting session to work on. It was a fun combination of chocolates and sugars, the educational aspect of Halloween, and then sort of, again, that magical inspiration that happens when someone makes an off the cuff comment. You never know where that comment's going to take you. And I thought it would be a fun one to share this week of Halloween.
Ah, that's absolutely a great story. And there's a number of things that you said that I really want to underscore that I think you did an exceptional job on. But I want to underscore for people listening to the podcast. First, deeply understanding the mindset. And I think you very appropriately pointed out that it's not necessarily the ambience in a sessions room that uh, predicts the quality and number of ideas that you're going to get, but it is deeply understanding the mindset. And I think everything you did leading up to the session and then in the session, you really got your head into Halloween. And I think that is very powerful as opposed to a bit more abstract. The second thing that you did is I had an earlier podcast on the great, and actually it's titled Wild and Wacky Ideas. And the idea that you blurted out before lunchtime, the chocolate skeleton and the coffin sort of thing, as a wild and wacky idea. And when I've talked about wild and wacky ideas, I talk about how it's kind of like the headwater sometimes of the really, really big ideas that you get, because then it sparks inspiration. People build on the idea and quickly and easily flow to a great number of ideas. And in this case, you actually ended up coming up with some ideas that were dramatically different options than what was available at that time for Halloween. And when you are dramatically different, another point that I've made strongly in previous podcasts, you were selling these products out in 10 days or less, and people were looking to get restocked as quickly as they could. So deeply understanding the mindset, having great respect for the power of wild and wacky ideas is kind of like the headwater for big things that can happen, and then coming up with ideas that are dramatically different, dramatically better than other things that are out there, and you actually ended up setting an entirely new trend for Halloween. It doesn't get any better than that.
Nope, it's a win, 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 win. And if
Yeah.
you know people who say these wild, weird things, put them in your session. I mean, they're fantastic for doing that kind of stuff because they lower the fear level. That's what's really going on there. It's like, well, if someone said, I can't, whatever I'm going to say can't be dumber than what Carrie just said.
Yeah.
You know, so and that's not an uncommon, I hear that frequently, right? Like, well, whatever I'm thinking can't be dumber than what she just said. So I'm just going to say it. And that's fantastic because whenever you can build that confidence level to get people to share the good stuff that they have going on, the more ideas you're going to get.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and you're making a great point, and I have a front row seat to this because when you and I've worked together in sessions, I've often told the group that I really am deeply appreciative of you being in the session because you will think of things and say things that I never could or would, and that is such a great contribution to what you're trying to do. So this is a absolutely fun story. Again, you're not going to get any sympathy for having to be on the production floor and tasting all the things coming off the production line.
It was
We're,
terrible.
we're all envious, and we're all, as soon as this podcast is over, we're going to run out and get a chocolate fix of some sort. Um, but I think it really outlines some wonderful principles about what it takes to create those truly big ideas that can make a big difference. And this is about as successful a case of innovation as I've heard in a long time. And you very clearly articulated what led to that. So, I want to thank you very much. Thank you for sharing that.
Always fun. Thanks for having me.
Yep. At i2ge.com on the menu bar, you can click on DIY, Do-It-Yourself Innovation Training. There's a whole bunch of innovation training programs available there. If you don't see something that really matches your needs, just email me and we'll develop it custom for you. What this is about is helping you become self-sufficient in innovation without having to hire very high-priced consultants like me to do it for yourself. So it's a very, very big benefit to you. If you want to learn more, I've published 6 books, and one of them is Proven Practical Innovation That Delivers Results. It's available at below break-even pricing at Amazon only, as a paperback and as a Kindle book. Doesn't get much better. I also love to get suggestions, comments, requests, whatever's on your mind. And just ask that you email me at richard@i2ge.com. I look forward to hearing from you. As always, I want to thank you very, very much for being part of this episode. I look forward to reconnecting with you soon.